So we are still at the plots, and Rowan and I just thought it would be a good idea if we talked to you before semester finishes about the irrigation setup to follow on from the very last prac that you did before we went into lockdown. And also, and this might be a separate short video, just to talk about the Theta Probe, which is used to, and Rowan's walking over to it now, which is a device that allows you to measure how much soil moisture there is. Strictly speaking, I think theta means water potential. And all right, let's have a look at it now.
Have a look at, yeah. So this particular model has nice sort of strong needles, I guess you call it, which are good for moving through the profile. If you buy a cheaper one of these, or you have the privilege of using one, you find that often this is all one unit.
Right.
When you trash these needles going into a rocky soil profile, you've got to replace the unit.
Gotcha.
So these ones, what's nice is that they're nice and solid. They're separate from the unit, and we also have different lengths. So depending on the soil profile you have, you can run a deeper one. It's all configurable in the interface. So we'll chuck those in. So yeah, you touched on this, Chris. You can effectively measuring the soil moisture.
Yeah.
And that can be a useful thing to do if you're trying to figure out, well, one, what sort of soil you've got. As you can imagine, it's probably pretty variable across this site with the history of it, and also it's a useful tool to figure out when you should irrigate. Yeah. So if you imagine this is sort of if you've had an enormous amount of rain and it drains out, and from field capacity, maybe once you figure out where you're at field capacity, and then maybe once you've run down half of that, you might think of applying more irrigation. So it's sort of helpful.
Yeah, and we should say, obviously, in a quote unquote normal year when we are more reliant on irrigation for these crops, it's just a handy thing to give you some diagnostics on soil moisture, so you like you say, you know when to irrigate. But of course, we've had a very wet autumn, so we stopped irrigating here weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny when you consider the amount of the effort that everyone sort of put into putting this irrigation together. I guess the point is to teach you about how to do it should you ever need to do it again.
Yeah.
But it really was only used for a few weeks, and then switched off. So the way you would use this thing is you turn it on, you calibrate it, and this one's come calibrated from the company that was purchased from. And then we just make sure that we've got it configured to use the right length probes, in this case 4.8 inches. And yeah, it's just a case of walking up the soil profile, and then you sort of jam these little things in, and you press read, and that's our reading.
Now, just from the old clunky one we used to have, I know that's really very wet, right?
Yep.
But what's it actually measuring?
So this is measuring you can see it's as a percentage, and this is volumetric water content, or VWC. It's as a percentage. So this is the percentage per volume. So it's taking a sample across a particular area within the soil between the two probes, and it's giving us that readout. I mean, what would be interesting is just to wander somewhere else and see how it varies, I suppose.
Sure, let's do it.
Yep.
I've got to say, it's saying it's 13 degrees Celsius. That's a lie.
It is a lie. It's a lot colder. Let's do one in the plot then.
Yeah.
This has been raised up.
Yes, sure.
Sorry.
Okay, here's my guess is I'm gonna say that it's about 33, just a little bit less. Oh,
20.
Wow.
So that's interesting.
That is so interesting. Yeah, that is. Sorry, I'll just show everyone clearly. There we go. So it's a lot less. It's still really moist.
And interestingly, slightly less temperature-wise. And this is sort of raised up with less cover on it. It's half a degree warmer. So this has been mounded up.
Okay,
and draining better.
Yeah, I'm just a bit of I just realised that's obviously measuring the temperature in the soil, correct?
Yeah, so you're getting half a degree less up here, probably because it's more exposed.
Yeah, but before I was assuming it was measuring the air temperature.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
hope everyone understands that I just made a bit of a clanger, and this thing is actually measuring soil temperature, which is awesome.
Well, should we do...
Actually, just quickly, one of the plots that, like that one over there, which is a bit sunken.
Yep.
Let's see whether that reflects less drainage and therefore more moisture.
Well, maybe one of these and the depression as well.
Yeah.
Right, so
then we press the magic button, and we get
it is.
So it is more moist. Very interesting.
All right, and now we'll do one in one of the depressions.
Yep.
So
that's not in. Yeah, same. A bit even lower than the turf before, and no cover. It should be. Maybe it's 40. I'll actually be bad and walk on a plot.
34.
34. So
Not-
is it the same or a bit less than the other one?
a bit less. So what we
Interesting.
had over there was not quite as bad. I'm not sure why that is. Whether any water may potentially concentrate in these depressions. Don't know.
Or even run. It actually runs off somewhere. So it might be more. Let's do one more.
Yeah.
Let's get obsessive. Let's assume that this is. I think this is actually, now I think about it, I think it's not true. But let's say that right there is right there is a low point, and that might be super moist.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we're back pretty much
Right.
in line with what was on the outside there.
Higher even.
Yeah.
I really hope that the guy who invented this would be watching this YouTube clip just going, oh my God, listen to these guys. What are they talking about? So, all right. So the point is, I guess, what would be a trigger number for saying, boy, we need to irrigate? I guess that, I mean, look, one thing I do know, ultimately that depends on the crop, right? So, because, agronomists and agricultural scientists have spent decades working out very precise irrigation needs for commercial agriculture, comparing broccoli to carrots or whatever, but they're all growing together. So I'm just imagining, 12, maybe 12 or 15, you might say, let's irrigate. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that might be an interesting exercise for your class, Chris, just passing the buck. But
fair enough.
But possibly, I think maybe the way I'd approach it would be to try and figure out what sort of percentage you're going to get at field capacity.
Yeah.
And then waiting until it sort of drops to half of that. So
sure.
You can imagine that within soil, it's not all water and it's not all soil.
There's air
and air.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a combination. So, but every soil is different. So it'd be worthwhile, or what would be interesting, is to heavily water or irrigate one of these areas. So completely soak it.
Yeah. Give
it time to sort of drain a little bit, take a measurement, and then let it dry out completely and see.
I think that's what we'll do next year. We'll have a whole. We'll sort of use it every. When the students aren't here, we'll use it during the week. But when they're here, we'll always have it here, and we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It could be interesting because, as you noted before, all these different plots are actually at different heights.
Yeah.
And we've got different readings off them. So, which means that each person really should be calibrating it for their particular plot.
True.
And although we're treating everyone the same with irrigation, it's still a good exercise.
And we've got to say that genuine diagnostics, if you will, or actually measuring, quantifying soil moisture is a relatively recent thing, and a lot of market gardeners don't even do it. It's all just done by sticking your finger in the soil, or visually,
and
right?
There's nothing wrong with that, and particularly when you consider the different crops you've got across such a small area, you probably would be treating them all slightly differently.
Sure.
Anyway. But
right.
Interesting exercise.
Definitely. Okay, well, we'll just stop there for now, and then we'll come back to you in a second about the drip irrigation.